This page is the cover of N64 Pro, issue 9 from July 1998. Right up front you see the headline Know the Score, and the massive N64 Pro logo. Dominating the cover is the character from Forsaken looking sharp, alongside Bomberman Hero and Gek64, who's looking particularly slick in his suit, ready for his first Reptilian preview. They're hyping Forsaken with a world-exclusive review, claiming it's quicker than Quake, and more exciting than Extreme G. Big claims, let's hope it lives up to it. We've also got little glimpses of Zero X, teasing how close it is to release, and Zelda 64, which apparently had the reviewers biting their nails down to the wrists, must be good, or frustratingly hard. Banjo-Kazooie is featured, sounding incredibly touchy-feely. Plus, a promise of completing Yoshi's story and showing off new Zelda 64 screenshots. Looks like a packed issue, promising reviews for every game, cheats, and even Quake 64 being cracked, whatever that means. This page jumps straight into it with, "Is it hot air?" splashed across the left side, featuring the puzzle game Weetrix. Honestly, looking at that weird blobby creature you might wonder, but judging by the review scores plastered right there, 91% from Nintendo Magazine and a cracking 93% overall from Total 64, it seems this game was anything but hot air. The quotes are raving about it being better than Tetris and incredibly addictive, calling it a spectacular cellular water system, which sounds bonkers but intriguing. The screenshots show off the unique, almost alien landscape you're playing on. Over on the right, the team from N64 Pro are clearly getting into the World Cup fever, trying their hand at predicting the winners. We've got folks like Alex tipping Nigeria, Jim going for Jamaica, because he's jealous of the England squad's recreational time apparently, and Steve backing Italy, because it's his favourite team in ISS 64. Nolly's had to pick Norway, after struggling to find an England top, bless him, and Mark's taking the safe bet on Brazil. Lewis is backing France, naturally. Some bold calls in there, wonder how many of them were right with the tournament just around the corner. It's page 03, and down at the very bottom you can see the usual long list of all the dedicated souls who put the magazine together, the credits for this issue. This page is the contents for issue 9, splashed across page 04. It's dominated by a rather imposing figure from Forsaken, alongside a listing of all the goodies packed inside this issue. Right off the bat you see they're giving away a free book, and stickers, a goal scorer's guide specifically for FIFA 64, RTWC, and ISS 64. Given the World Cup predictions on the last page, it's no surprise they're leaning into the football fever. A handy guide to dominating those footy games, plus stickers, lovely stuff. Then we get into the meat of it. Competitions, regulars like news and peripherals. Wonder if they talk about that Rumble Pack everyone was banging on about. And previews featuring games like Cruis'n USSR, Mission Impossible, Gek Symbol, and Wonder Worm Man. Earthworm Jim, obviously. The review section covers Forsaken, Bomberman Hero, Powerful Pro Baseball, NBA Courtside, and Rampage World Tour. Looks like Forsaken gets the big cover story treatment. Always interesting to see what they made of sports games back then. Finally, there's codes, tips and guides, including a whole new cheats encyclopedia section, as cheats, Yoshi's story secrets, and tips for Quake 64. Plenty there to keep you busy. It's a packed issue by the look of it. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. Bunny v. Durangton Zine. This page dives straight into the E3 preview. We're getting the scoop on what Nintendo, Rare, Ocean and Acclaim might be bringing to the show. Nintendo's apparently got a good few N64 titles lined up, with the mighty Zelda 64 being a key highlight. Rare sounds like they're going for the big reveals, potentially showing off a GoldenEye sequel, and some Banjo-Kazooie. Ocean and Acclaim aren't slouching either, with Mission Impossible, and the eagerly anticipated Turok 2 on the cards. Looks like E3 is set to be a cracker for N64 fans. 18 also over on the right there's a big splash about GT64 Championship Edition. They're really pushing the realistic racing angle, and the visuals, which was always a bit of a draw on the N64. It looks like a serious contender for the racing genre, promising an N64 driving test. And who could forget those characters from Fighting Force? Seems like that beat-em-up was also making its way onto the console. Proper busy page this one. This page dives deeper into the E3 preview, showcasing what more publishers had lined up for the N64. We get highlights from Activision, Titus, Virgin Interactive and Kemco, teasing titles across various genres. Psygnosis was set to unveil F1 98 and the much-loved Wipeout 64, promising high-speed thrills, alongside Destruction Derby and OT. Midway was bringing a solid lineup too, with Mortal Kombat 4 leading the charge, supported by sports games like NFL Blitz and Rush 2, plus platforming with Gex 2, and Chow-Katic fighters like Biofreaks. It seems E3 delivered on the promise of loads of N64 titles, building on the big announcements from the previous page. Dominating the right side is a huge advert for GT64 Championship Edition, expanding on its mention last page. It's all about the intense racing, boasting licensed teams and tracks, and claiming the fastest 3D engine on the console. The advert, complete with dynamic screenshots and race cars, sets the scene for a serious N64 driving test. Looks like they were really trying to capture that realistic racing feel. Below, there's the N64 Pro Swap Shop, a reader's classified section for swapping games. Nice little service for the community to trade their unwanted cartridges and find some hidden gems. N64 news abounds. Rare is teasing something Donkey Kong 64 related, possibly a video. V-Rally will feature 4-player split screen. FQ's wrestling games are ending, but LucasArts is preparing a likely Star Wars Rogue Squadron sequel. BMG and Take-Two's Mud Monsters 4x4 promises realistic physics and dirt spray effects. F-Zero X has a Japanese release date in July, with a UK release expected in September. Titus is creating Hercules and Xena games using memory packs. Finally, Activision is bringing Quake 2 to the N64, potentially displacing GT Interactive. This page kicks off with some news bits. Looks like Acclaim is back at it, digging into their comic book catalogue again, following Shadow Man with something on a bloke called Bloodshot. Apparently he's a bit like the Punisher, just catalogue again, angrier probably. Then we've got the charts section, your usual rundown of the top games in the UK, the N64 Pro picks, and the games everyone seems to want the most. Standard stuff, really, tells you what everyone was playing or pestering Santa for. The main event here seems to be Acclaim again, pushing the graphical boundaries with their sports games. They're banging on about NBA Jam 99 and NFL Quarterback Club 99. Jam 99 sounds promising, with a new polygonal engine, updated AI, motion capture, and even new commentary talent replacing the legendary Marv Albert. Apparently, the reviewer liked the previous hangtime on the N64, despite its flaws, so fingers crossed this new Jam cleans things up. They also reckon the battle between the two main NFL games is heating up this year. Bigger finally. There's a big splash for GT64 Championship Edition. Looks like a proper racing sim with real weather, damage and pit stops, all promising an incredible racing experience. Sounds like they're challenging you to see if you can handle the N64 driving test. This page introduces the N64 Pro Software House Leagues, a rather clever way to rate how well publishers are doing based on the quality of their games. They've got a simple point system. The better the game, the more points awarded, and frankly, rubbish gets you negative points. The aim is to shine a spotlight on the publishers consistently delivering the goods and, well, put the fear into those who aren't. Nintendo is absolutely dominating the Premier League table, proving they're still the main players. Konami and Ocean are also showing strong form. Meanwhile, down in Division 1, some are clearly struggling, with GT Interactive finding themselves firmly rooted at the bottom, earning themselves a place in the Hall of Shame alongside Hudson. The real fun comes with the N64 Pro Dream Team, where they've picked a squad of the best games released so far, arranged like a football team. Wetrix gets the gloves as goalkeeper, Pilot Wings fills the fullback positions, while Super Mario 64 provides rock-solid defense. GoldenEye and Mystical Ninja bring creativity to midfield, with ISS 64 leading the attack. They reckon it might be the best footy game ever. They even list substitutes like Mario Kart 64 and Wave Race. It's a brilliant way to see which games have made the biggest impact. We'll see how things change next issue when games like Forsaken start adding points. This page is the definitive N64 release schedule for 1998, or at least as definitive as it gets when release dates are as solid as a wet paper bag, especially over here in the UK. They've got a handy color key so you know if you're looking at a UK, US, or Japanese date, and they make it clear that half the UK releases will be arriving late because of the games. Don't panic, they say. There's a massive list of games planned for 1998, split between those with specific dates and those still shrouded in mystery. Highlights include upcoming titles like Mortal Kombat 4, Banjo-Kazooie, and Earthworm Jim 3D, sitting alongside plenty of others. On the side, EA are apparently proper confident about World Cup 98 breaking sales records, and who are we to argue? Konami's Rakuga Kids is flagged as one to watch, sounding like a bit of a quirky beat-em-up. Pokémon Stadium is facing a bit of a delay, which is a bit of a shame, but fingers crossed it arrives eventually. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil is getting a lot of hype, promising everything we hoped for after the original. And Banjo-Kazooie, the next big thing, is right around the corner, although they're questioning if it can truly match the impact of Super Mario 64. Finally, Mortal Kombat Midway gets a mention for its signature lashings of blood and gore. Looks like plenty to look forward to. This issue delves into upcoming games for 1998 and 1999, including a highly anticipated screenshot of Zelda 64. The reviews section is highlighted as crucial, explaining their rating system and featuring reviewers with diverse tastes. Readers are encouraged to contribute opinions. Previews are provided for games like Forsaken, Bomberman Hero, and Rampage World Tour. Finally, hardware news focuses on the Nintendo 64 mouse, and the still unclear future of the 64DD. This page delves into the review of Forsaken 64, touted here as a subterranean shoot-'em-up that's flying high. The blurb right at the top sets the tone nicely, suggesting it's like taking Quake, giving it a facelift, sticking flying motorbikes in it, and generally tarting it up into one hell of a game. Right, so the premise is set in a rather bleak future, where robots are causing trouble, but apparently the girls are still fit, so it's not all bad then, is it? The core difference here is you're not running around like in GoldenEye, you're piloting a pion cycle, basically a flying craft. This means you get proper 360-degree movement. Up, down, sideways, even the ceiling is fair game. Sounds like they fixed some issues from Descent with this one, which is good news. Up, visually the reviewer seems impressed, calling it spectacular stuff, with alien-style tunnels and pleasing lighting effects and explosions, as seen in the screenshots. You've got a whole load of different mercenaries to choose from, each with their own quirks, like Nim Su Sin with her miniskirt distraction, or Trucker rocking up in his JCB. Quite the cast. All in all, it sounds like a high-flying, visually impressive shooter, though at £54.99, you'd hope it delivers. Forsaken 64, reviewed in this page, is praised for its stunning visuals, especially the vibrant explosions and laser effects, deemed the best on the N64. The diverse arsenal, including powerful weapons like the Beamlaster, offers varied combat options. Control is described as initially complex but ultimately manageable. The AI is highlighted for its intelligence, making enemies challenging rather than simple targets, emphasizing tactical combat. The sound design, including pseudo-jungle techno and voice acting, is also well received. Overall, the reviewer is highly impressed by the game's technical polish and unique gameplay. Warranting. This page dives straight into the review of Forsaken 64. It's looking absolutely cracking here. The graphics are clearly a highlight, with those big, bright explosions shown off in the screenshots that make you want to get out of the way. The review talks about a massive arsenal of weaponry hidden throughout the levels, far beyond just the standard laser, mentioning things like the Tranpulse and those annoying pine mines that just hang about waiting for a mug to fly into them. The missions sound varied, sometimes finding an object or just clearing out baddies, though the save system sounds a bit harsh, only letting you save every few levels. Right then, proper old-school challenge. The multiplayer sounds decent too, supporting up to 4 players, and even having computer-controlled bots to fill things out, which is a nice touch. The main artwork shows off a rather scantily clad lass, alongside a robot, which certainly grabs your attention. There's also a little note comparing the American and English box art apparently. They thought the American one had a Fitbird on it, unlike the duller affair we got. Cracking stuff. Unsurprisingly, with visuals and action like this it scores a mighty 92%. Seems everyone agrees it's one of the best looking and playing shoot-'em-ups on the N64. This page kicks off the review for Bomberman Hero, Queen Million's Rescue. Well, isn't this a departure? Apparently Bomberman has decided to ditch the classic multiplayer chows we all know and love, and become a 3D exploration and platform game, much like that Mario chap. The reviewer seems a bit disappointed by the loss of the multiplayer, calling it a huge disappointment. The action is set across different worlds, and you'll be using bombs, naturally, along with some new moves like jumping, yes, Bomberman can finally jump, and punching. There are power-ups to collect to boost your health and bombs, and you can even detonate bombs remotely, which sounds handy. Screenshots show off various levels, underwater sections, icy chases, and even what looks like a tricky cliff face level that sounds like a right pain to navigate according to the review. Enemies are said to be tougher than in Bomberman 64, offering a decent challenge. There's also mention of a rather bizarre intro sequence involving a snowman chase. It's a single-player game, retailing for a pretty hefty £59.99, typical N64 pricing back then. Seems Hudson was trying to make Bomberman their big 3D star here. This Bomberman Hero review details underwater levels, clown enemies, and rock climbing sections. Knife enemies with high-pitched shrieks are also featured. The game boasts a diverse wardrobe, including snorkel gear and a jetpack, and vehicles like the Bomberjet and Bombercopter. 5 worlds, unique bosses, spinning statues and crustaceans, and item collection progression are highlighted. While not reaching the depth of Super Mario 64, the game is described as not a bad little outing, with a solid 83% N64 score, praised for its advancement of the Bomberman single-player experience. This page features a review of the Japanese import title, Powerful Pro Baseball 5, from Konami. Right away, the reviewer sounds a bit weary of baseball games, lamenting the sheer number of them flooding the market, especially the big-headed Japanese variety. The game is described as having cartoon-like graphics, which isn't everyone's cup of tea compared to Namco's Famista, but apparently the fielding is much better. Batting requires precise timing, and the whole experience is hampered by the language barrier, making certain aspects, like the scoreboard, incomprehensible unless you're fluent in Japanese. The reviewer points out that while it has some charm and decent gameplay, there are arguably better English language options available, like Ken Griffey or All-Star Baseball. Despite these points, it still gets a respectable 69% score, suggesting it's not a bad game, just maybe one only for the most dedicated baseball fans who are desperate for anything new or are happy to navigate the language issues. There are also a few short comments from readers giving their brief takes on the game. This page gives us the lowdown on Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside, which is Nintendo's big swing at a proper, realistic basketball simulation on the N64, following some less than stellar third-party efforts like NBA Hangtime and that fuzzy NBA Pro. Apparently this is the real deal with the NBA license and everything, so you can expect your favorite teams like the Bulls and the Jazz. The review says it's a bit of a beast to get to grips with initially, feeling like you're wrestling a rhino, but once you put the time in, it really opens up with tactical depth. You've got detailed stats, you can call offensive sets using the D-PAD and shoulder buttons, and the player interaction on the court is meant to be pretty realistic. The screenshots show off the gameplay from different angles, highlighting things like shooting from distance, defensive struggles, mid-court collisions, and getting a clear view of the action from the board cam. It seems like Nintendo finally cracked the code on bringing a solid sports sim to the console, moving away from the arcade madness of previous attempts. Looks promising if you're after a realistic hoops fix. This page continues the deep dive into Kobe Bryant in NBA Courtside, and it seems Nintendo has finally delivered the goods on the N64 when it comes to basketball. We get a look at some of the big names featured, like Dennis Rodman, Kobe Bryant, Scottie Pippen and Shaq, with little blurbs about them. The controls are laid out nicely, showing what all those buttons on the quirky N64 pad actually do in-game, from calling sets with the D-PAD and shoulder button, to passing or stealing with the A button. The graphics are praised for being crisp and clear, unlike some previous efforts, and the sound is apparently top-notch, really immersing you in the game with commentary, crowd noise, and hip-hop. The animation gets a specific mention, under the rather dramatic heading of suspended. It seems it's not quite perfect, perhaps a bit robotic at times, but the reviewer says it's still miles better than the demo, and doesn't stop it from being a truly great sports game and even potentially the best basketball game they've played. High praise indeed, despite the animation niggle. The final score is a cracking 88%, with strong scores across the board for graphics, gameplay, sound and lastability. Looks like this is the one to get for N64 hoop action. The next page jumps from the court to city smashing, with a review for Rampage World Tour. The headline pretty much tells you everything you need to know. I'd rather watch a Spice Girls World Tour, to be honest. Ouch. The reviewer, Alex, who's apparently the editor, makes it abundantly clear he really didn't like this one. He describes the game as, shall we say, less than enjoyable, calling it a worthless rip-off that hasn't progressed since its earlier incarnations. Seems it drove him completely mad just playing it. There's a little Q&A section where he tackles assumptions about being a Games Mag editor, which is quite amusing. You see screenshots of the monstrous characters towering over buildings, doing what monsters do best, smashing things, eating cars, and getting attacked by helicopters. The N64 controller diagram shows the simple controls for lumbering about, punching, jumping, and kicking. Unsurprisingly, given the review's tone, the game scores a dismal 33%. The breakdown scores for graphics, gameplay, sound, and last ability reflect this disappointment. Other folks chime in below, mostly agreeing with Alex, although one chap, Steve, suggests the multiplayer might offer a bit of a laugh, scoring it higher. Overall, definitely not one to rush out and buy, based on this review. The peripheral vision section showcases N64 add-ons. The Interact Tremor Pack Plus, a rumble pack with a memory card switcher, earns a 3/5. The Datal Game Booster, a Game Boy emulator, scores a 4/5, allowing color Game Boy play, and cheats, for over 350 titles. The Cheat Zone features an expanded cheats encyclopedia, promising numerous tricks for games like Automobili Lamborghini and Blast Corps, with a giveaway for the Game Booster. This page provides cheat codes for various Nintendo 64 games: Bomberman 64, Chameleon Twist, Clay Fighter 63 1/3, Cruisin' USA, 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, and Diddy Kong Racing all receive detailed cheat lists. Doom 64, Duke Nukem 64, Extreme G, F1 Pole Position, FIFA 98, Fighter's Destiny, and Killer Instinct Gold are also covered, with specific codes and unlock methods detailed. These cheats range from infinite health and character unlocks to hidden vehicles, invincibility, and altered game effects. This page is a comprehensive guide to cheat codes for various Nintendo 64 games. It covers a wide range of genres, from sports titles like Madden 64 and NFL Quarterback Club 98, to fighting games like Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and shooters like Quake 64 and GoldenEye 007. Cheats unlock extra content like hidden teams, stages, and characters, as well as altering game mechanics like character appearance and God mode. The guide highlights specific methods for unlocking cheats, including level completion on certain difficulties and time constraints. A visual guide for inputting codes is also included. The next page of the Cheats Encyclopedia keeps the good times rolling, with even more N64 secrets. We've got cheats for everything from retro shooters like Robotron 64, offering extra lives and different fire modes, to the epic Star Wars adventure, Shadows of the Empire. Shadows has some seriously deep cheats, including a complex debug menu that unlocks pretty much everything, and even the ability to control vehicles like the X-Wing or play as a stormtrooper. There are racing game treats too, with hidden tracks in San Francisco Rush and all cars and tracks available in Top Gear Rally, although that one takes a fair bit of button pressing. For Snowboard Kids and Tetrisphere, you can unlock characters, music, and even different game modes, just by typing in names or codes. Turok Dinosaur Hunter gets some straightforward codes for things like infinite lives and fun visual modes. War Gods players can enjoy unlimited continues, easy fatalities, and playing as extra characters. But the real highlight might be the Super Mario 64 section, which isn't just codes but brilliant little tricks. Stuff like the cannon fodder method to kill Mario, stomping that chain chomp properly, how to finally meet Yoshi after getting all those stars, and clever ways to handle the penguin race and the snowman's hat trick. It's packed with essential tips for getting the most out of Matt's adventures. This article features more cheats from the Cheats Encyclopedia for Nintendo 64 games. Wave Race 64 cheats include a dolphin riding secret and reverse tracks. Yoshi's Story lets you have infinite Yoshis. Weetrix cheats unlock special landscapes and water bombs. Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey and Olympic hockey Nagano cheats allow changing player physiques and enabling constant fights. The page concludes with a promise of more cheats next month, and a large section showcasing N64, Super NES, and PlayStation game orders, accessories, and a Mad Catz gear competition. Yoshi's Story is praised as a superb 2D platformer. This guide offers essential hints. Collecting all 6 melons in each stage in the correct order reveals hidden messages. Completing levels without losing Yoshi unlocks special Yoshis. Scoring involves strategic eating, prioritizing melons. 100 points each. Bouncing or ground pounding on Shy Guys earns points or reveals items. Finding white Shy Guys rewards extra lives. The rotating tongue and infinite lives cheat are also highlighted. The game is packed with secrets. This page continues the Yoshi's Story Expert Guide, moving into specific level walkthroughs. Right then, so you've got detailed tips for finding all those pesky special hearts and other secrets hidden within several of the early levels. They cover a bunch here, starting with page 1 levels like the lovely treasure hunt, the slightly chaotic surprise, the tricky tower climb and rail lift. Then it moves on to page 2, with the slightly more dangerous locales like the Bone Dragon Pit, the fiery Blarg's Boiler, the rather gooey Jelly Pipe, and the utterly confusing Torrential Maze. Each section gives you the lowdown on where to find the special hearts you need to unlock new routes and stages, often pointing out specific enemies like Shy Guys, or objects like Zissel, Bubbles and Tulips you need to interact with. Sometimes they even tell you where to snag a rare black Yoshi. It's all laid out nice and clear, with little screenshots to show you the spots. Proper handy, if you're struggling to find everything yourself. Saves you sniffing around every single bush, eh? This Yoshi story guide covers pages 3 and 4, detailing level-specific strategies. Page 3's Cloud Cruising, the Tall Tower, Poochie and Nippy, and Frustration levels include boss fight advice and heart locations. Page 4's Jungle Hut, Jungle Puddle, Piranha Grove, and Neuron Jungle levels provide detailed instructions for finding special hearts, defeating bosses, like Cloudjin and Don Bongo, and navigating specific challenges. The guide covers various mechanics, like using gating, balls, bouncing, and interacting with environmental elements. The next page of this expert guide dives right into the later stages of Yoshi's story, picking up with page 5. We're tackling levels like the tricky underwater, lots of jellyfish and lots of fish, showing you exactly where to sniff out those elusive special hearts. Then it's off to the colorful Shy Guy Limbo and the pirate-themed Shy Guy ship, packed with more hearth-hunting instructions and tips for dealing with those pesky Shy Guys. Flipping over to page 6, things get a bit more serious with the fortress levels, the spiky Mecha Castle, the spooky Ghost Castle, the vertical challenge of Lift Castle, and the fiery Magma Castle. The guide walks you through finding all the hidden special hearts in these tougher levels, making sure you don't miss a single one. Finally, it wraps up with the main event, Baby Bowser. It gives you the lowdown on how to beat the big boss, reminding you to dodge his attacks and dish out your own. By the end, you'll have every heart bagged, and be ready to hunt down those hidden melons. The next page dives right into the thick of it with Quake 64. This is part 2 of Noelle's comprehensive walkthrough guide, picking up where the last one left off, venturing deep into the levels of Episode 1 and the start of Episode 2, The Realm of Black Magic. First up, there's a handy box detailing Noelle's preferred control setup on the N64 pad, explaining why they've switched things around from the default. Apparently the defaults are far too limiting. Fair enough, customize away. Then we get stuck into the guide itself, starting with Map 4, Gloomkeep. The text is accompanied by several numbered screenshots, showing key moments and locations. It walks you through the level step by step, starting right at the entrance. You're told to dive into the water, find hidden caves for goodies like Mega Health, navigate past traps, and take on various foes like knights, ogres and death knights. It points out where to find crucial weapons like the rocket launcher and super nail gun, as well as power-ups like quad damage. It even highlights secret areas, areas 1 through 5 mentioned here, showing you how to access them by headbutting brackets or activating pressure pads. The guide culminates in using that juicy quad power to take down a nasty shambler. It's a proper blow-by-blow account to get you through this level and bag those runes. This Quake 64 walkthrough continues into Episode 1, focusing on Maps 5 and 6. Map 5, The Door to Chthon, is a maze-like level featuring ogres, secret areas, power-ups, like quad damage, and tricky obstacles like spiked walls and lava. A gold key triggers a fiend encounter. The final boss of Chapter 1, Quaton, on Map 6, the House of Quaton, requires a unique strategy. Instead of direct attack, players must use earth runes, position electrodes, and shock Chthon multiple times to defeat him. A slip gate then leads to the exit. The next page continues our Quake 64 adventures, first by dipping into a secret level, Map 7, Ziggurat Vertigo. This one's a bit of a tricky side trip, involving lava dips, grabbing power-ups like the pentagram of protection and quad damage, and snagging various keys while dealing with ogres and a shambler on a central platform. The walkthrough points out the slightly daft physics involved, but hey, it's Quake. You grab the silver key, find Secret Area 2 via a hidden wall, and eventually make your way to the exit. Quakey. Then we dive into the meat of things with Map 8, the Ogre Citadel, marking the beginning of the second episode, The Realm of Black Magic. As the text rightly points out, things are getting decidedly tougher now, with bigger levels and nastier monsters like fiends, death knights, and more ogres obviously. This section guides you through shooting switches to cross chasms, dealing with foes from windows, navigating drawbridges and lifts, and finding essential items like the quad damage and a gold key. There are a couple of secret areas tucked away, requiring careful observation, and some platforming. It sounds like the puzzles and combat ramp up significantly here, just as you'd expect from Quake's second chapter. The next page carries on with the Quake 64 walkthrough, kicking off with Map 9, the Crypt of Decay. It's all about navigating watery areas, hitting switches, and dealing with the usual suspects. Ogres, Death Knights, and even a shambler guarding a secret area switch. You'll be grabbing keys, finding hidden walls for more secrets, because Quake loves a secret, and eventually battling your way to the episode's secret level, the Under Earth. Sounds like a bit of a treasure hunt, mixed with classic Quake brutality. Then we move on to Map 10, the Wizard's Manse, which looks like another classic dark atmospheric level. This one seems to feature more platforming across water, plenty of ogres and scrags to mince, and even some pesky fiends. The walkthrough guides you through switches that reveal walkways, finding secret areas tucked away in watery sections, and grabbing essentials like the quad damage. It's the typical Quake progression. More monsters, more traps, and more secrets to uncover as you push towards the level exit. Standard, glorious stuff. This page carries on with the rather lovely Quake 64 walkthrough, diving straight into Map 11, the Dismal Oubliette. As you'd expect, there are ogres right off the bat, requiring a good grenade bounce to sort them out. You'll be messing about with pillars, dipping underwater for goodies, always worth it, and navigating via lifts, encountering the charming hospitality of Death Knights and Vors along the way. Naturally, there are secrets tucked away, like a rather handy quad and a pentagram of protection, perfect for showing those monsters who's boss. Then we plunge into Map 12. The Under Earth, the secret level revealed on the previous page. It kicks off with a moat, a castle, and a welcoming committee of ogres, Death Knights and scrags. You'll need to get wet, navigate underwater passages, and deal with trapped monsters and annoying gargoyles. There's more secret hunting here with quad runes, the biosuit, essential, and even a grenade launcher hidden away. It's a proper Quake secret level, tricky, packed with monsters, and full of hidden pathways and helpful items if you're diligent enough. Looks like next month finishes things off, so keep those rockets ready. This page shifts gears completely, diving into a preview for Mission Impossible on the N64. Infogrames are having a go at translating Tom Cruise's big-screen spy shenanigans into a game, and by the looks of this page it's been a bit of a tricky mission itself. You've got a big, moody character render of Ethan Hunt, looking all intense, peering over a pistol like he's about to download a floppy disk or something equally high-tech for the era. Around him are a few screenshots, showing off some first-person aiming and third-person exploration. There are also some cool storyboard sketches, giving you a flavor of the various locations and action scenes they're planning. Definitely hints of varied gameplay there. The text doesn't pull any punches, calling the game's development tortuous, and comparing its journey to the Titanic's, which, if you know your history, isn't exactly a ringing endorsement for smooth sailing. It's being developed by Infogrames, possibly with Ocean lurking in the background, over in Manchester and France. According to the info box, it's currently about 60% complete, but there's no playable version yet, and they're aiming for a summer '98 release. After delays, that 60% figure and lack of demo do make you raise an eyebrow, don't they? Still, the potential for a cool spy game is definitely there, assuming they can nail it. Fingers crossed they don't hit an iceberg before launch. A preview of the N64's Mission Impossible reveals a stealth-focused, gadget-heavy experience, contrasting with GoldenEye's action. Players will navigate 20 levels as Ethan Hunt, utilizing teamwork with IMF agents like Jim Phelps and specialists. Visuals show third-person exploration, first-person aiming, and overhead views, showcasing diverse locations like the Russian embassy. Despite development challenges described as a rocky road, developers remain hopeful for a successful spy game. This page takes a look at Gex 3D, or Enter the Gecko as it's properly called, making the leap to the glorious N64 after getting its 3D start on the other machine. You've got the main man himself plastered across the page, looking dapper as ever, remote in hand. Crystal Dynamics is bringing this free-roaming adventure our way, promising loads of levels, spanning different media dimensions. Gex can climb pretty much anything, tail whip enemies, and seems to have a move for every occasion, packed with over 3,400 frames of animation apparently. Sounds pretty smooth. Crucially, they've bagged the absolute legend Leslie Phillips to provide the voice, That alone guarantees some classic British cheekiness, and plenty of spoofing of TV, film, and cartoon tropes. Crystal Dynamics are saying it's 75% done, aiming for a summer release. It looks like a promising 3D platformer with personality, a nice contrast to some of the more serious games we've seen. Hopefully it plays as good as Leslie Phillips sounds. This page dives into the world of Earthworm Jim 3D, showing off the worm's big leap into the third dimension. It talks about how Interplay is bringing him to the N64 after he's been knocking about on other machines, and how the plan changed from a pseudo 3D look to a proper 3D platformer. The article mentions Jim's been given a bit of a redesign by Vis Interactive, and the screenshots show off the new look and some rather cool looking levels. You've got platforming, puzzles, and even some daft minigames like water rafting mentioned. Apparently the disco zombie looks superb, which is nice to know. Boy. The text also gives a bit of insight into Jim himself, highlighting his personality and some of his peculiar fears, like birds and fishermen. He's still the Ayatollah of action, mind you, despite his wormy anxieties. According to the little fact box, the game's being developed in Scotland, which is a bit unexpected but cracking stuff. It's 60% complete, and aiming for a winter release. Looks like another classic character making a proper go of it in 3D. This page is all about Acclaim's All-Star Baseball, looking like they're trying to step up their game in the sports simulation world. Blimey, the title graphic with the little coloured dots under view is quite fetching, isn't it? They've got a bunch of screenshots showing off the action, players batting, fielding, and some close-ups of the diamond. The article is hyping up the graphics, calling them highs, and claiming they make the game sharper and more detailed than anything else on the N64 so far. Quite a bold claim. Apparently they've been playing a 95% finished version and seem genuinely impressed, especially with the tactical side of things, describing it as a deep pitcher versus batter chess match. They reckon it feels incredibly realistic, and gives you a real sense of control over the outcome. It's been developed over in the US by Acclaim, and was looking set for a June release. Seems like Acclaim was really trying to push the boat out with this one. This review of Acclaim's All-Star Baseball praises its impressive visuals, calling it potentially the best sports title yet. The game boasts detailed pitching controls, diverse batting options, including bunts, and a robust creator-player mode with extensive customization, including facial details, ability points, and pitching skill management. A Make It to the Big Leagues section highlights the management simulation aspects, complete with free agent moves and starting rotation options. The reviewer is highly impressed and anticipates a follow-up review next month. This page is all about getting your hands on some sweet free gear just for subscribing to N64 Pro. They're offering a free official Nintendo Joypad, or, if you fancy the essential add-ons, a free Rumble Pack and Controller Pack combo when you subscribe for 13 issues. It seems like a decent deal back then, especially getting actual official Nintendo peripherals delivered right to your door along with the magazine. They show off the different colored controllers you could potentially snag as your free gift, which is a nice touch. The page lays out the subscription rates for the UK, Europe and the rest of the world, and even highlights a saving if you pay by direct debit. There's a handy 24-hour hotline for credit card holders too, because waiting is for chumps, right? You've got the classic order form to fill out with your details and preferred payment method, check, PO or credit card. They make it sound dead easy to subscribe and ensure you never miss an issue of the magazine, promising delivery straight to your home with no extra postage in the UK. A solid offer if you were a fan of the magazine and needed some new kit. This page is cracking. After looking at how to subscribe for the magazine, we get to the good stuff. A massive giveaway. This is the biggest giveaway ever and they aren't messing about. They're practically giving away the shop. We're talking Psychic Wars manga videos, the editor's actual collection of magazines, sets of Godzilla books, past, present and future, the making of Godzilla and Age of Monsters, some Cool Rats original artwork, wonder who Rats was, a game booster, remember those little things for Game Boy games, Quake 2 t-shirts, proper 90s grunge, a year's subscription to N64 Pro itself, handy if you didn't bite on the offer on the previous page, enormous Gex posters, and even a gigantic Gex cardboard cutout. The entry form is right there, asking the important questions like what rhymes with magazine, or what type of lizard Gex is. You just fill out your details, answer the questions as best you can, or just guess who's judging, and send it in by the end of July. They even show off the winners from the previous giveaway, picking up prizes like Akira Vids and Alien Harvest novels. Loads of chances to win some decent kit without spending a penny. Absolutely nothing. This page right here is your chance to fill in those gaps in your N64 Pro collection. They've got a list of back issues available, showing you what game was on the cover, what free gift you might have missed out on, and the glorious list of games featured inside. They covered everything from racing like Extreme G and F1 pole position, to classics like Super Mario 64, Lilat Wars, and GoldenEye 007, plus sports titles like FIFA RTWC 98, Nagano Winter Olympics, and World Cup 98. Loads of good stuff, though some are already gone, marked clearly as sold out. Tough luck if you missed issue 2 with FIFA 98, or issue 3 with San Francisco Rush and GoldenEye. You can snag the remaining ones for just £3 a pop. There's a handy order form right there, you just tick the issues you want and send it off. Warrants need to advertise? Ring Carrie Nash on 016258 7888 for classifieds. Want us N64 imports or PlayStation gear cheap? Madeira Games has you sorted, even guaranteed next day delivery. Fancy playing Quake Online back in the day? Zetnet's your answer. Call 0800 938 638. Apparently it's not for wimps. And if you want to keep your precious N64 carts safe from dust and general wear, Pride offers high-quality game cases, officially licensed by Nintendo, for a few quid. N64 Pro's feedback section features passionate discussions about the Nintendo 64. Readers like EAM compare the N64 to other consoles, praising its games like GoldenEye and Mario World while acknowledging loading times. Paul Haggy finds Mario 64 shocking, but praises GoldenEye. Aaron Hunter weighs N64 games against PlayStation titles. Ben Warburton champions the N64 superiority, and another reader inquires about horse racing games. The magazine is also seeking reader reviewers, including Andrew Smith. The issue also promotes giveaways, including Spook peripherals. This page dives into the Pro Post section, which is basically the magazine's letters page, where readers let rip or dole out the praise. We've got some proper arguments going here about the age-old N64 versus PlayStation debate, with people championing their console of choice and listing off top games like GoldenEye, DKR, and Pilot Wings against the likes of Tekken 3 and Resident Evil on the competition. There's also chat about the magazine itself, its cheat sections being top-notch, and anticipation for games like Metroid. The coveted letter of the month goes to someone who's bagged themselves some rather cool Spook peripherals, which were mentioned on the previous page, so well done that man. Elsewhere, there's a section pondering whether a potential purchase is, shall I eat this month, or do I buy this game? Weighing up quality and necessity. Plus, a debate about cultural stereotypes in reviews gets another airing after a previous article ruffled a few feathers by taking a pop at Americans, which apparently caused a bit of a stink. All this alongside a rather cheerful-looking character artwork and some shots of the winning gear. Always lively stuff in the feedback section. This page is the absolute business, the ultimate guide to N64 gaming. If you're wondering what to spend your hard-earned cash on, this is where they lay it all out, showing you the stunners and warning you off the dross. They've got a key to explain their scores, and even a special stamp of approval for games that hit over 90%, because they apparently don't hand those out lightly, which is fair enough. You'll find charts here for their own top 10 N64 Pro ratings, and also a combined list averaging scores from all the other magazines. It's quite the mathematical blender apparently. Unsurprisingly, games like Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, and Super Mario 64 are right up there battling for the top spots across both lists, showing their proper classics. Down below, they dive into a whole heap of games, with screenshots and reviews. You've got everything from high-flying hits like 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, which sounds like a flawless ride, and the addictive demolition fun of Blastcore, to the not-so-great like the frankly baffling Clay Fighter, which they reckon should never have seen the light of day, and the rather dated Cruisin' USA. There are also previews for imports like Aerogauge and Augusta Masters. Plus, you can't miss the big pictures of Bomberman and Duke Nukem looking menacing. It's basically your shopping list and hazard warning rolled into one handy section. This N64 profile section continues, highlighting notable games like the legendary GoldenEye, the superb ISS-64, and impressive racers Extreme G and GT64. Lilat Wars is praised for its stunning visuals. Fighter's Destiny is deemed the best N64 fighting game, while G.AS Page Fighters Nextreme, despite good graphics, suffers from control issues. Other games, like Dual Heroes and FIFA 64, receive mixed reviews. The section includes impressive visual representations of characters and GT64's race car, showcasing the console's capabilities. Overall, it's a strong guide to the N64 library. Characters. This page continues the look at the N64 library in the profile section, featuring a whole load of reviews slapped across a vibrant background with various game characters dotted around. You've got the usual suspects getting a nod, like Mario Kart 64 and Pilotwings 64, both scoring highly, confirming their proper quality N64 experiences. Nagano Winter Olympics also gets a cracking score, apparently brilliant multiplayer fun, who knew? Boree. However, it's not all golden joysticks. Mortal Kombat Trilogy and Mythologies get a bit of a pasting, especially the Mythologies one, which is called a horrible mixture, and a fraud. Ouch. Rampage World Tour also gets slated, described as lousy. It seems the quality here is a real mixed bag, from top-tier classics and solid sports games like Madden and NHL Breakaway, down to some absolute shockers. The page is full of character art, from Wario looking mischievous on his cart, to some bloke playing hockey, and a slightly odd selection of others. The little footprint icons next to the games, and a nice visual touch, giving you a hint of the game type at a glance. It's a colourful, busy page, typical of these N64 mags, giving you the lowdown on what's hot and what's most definitely not. The next page is another riot of colour, continuing the profile section with even more N64 game reviews plastered across a vibrant background. We're digging deeper into the N64 library here, and it's quite the mixed bag, as you'd expect. Some absolute belters get a look in, like the legendary Super Mario 64, still hailed as one of the finest games ever created, and the fantastic Weetrix, a puzzle game that apparently surprised everyone in the office and is declared the best you can buy. Wave Race 64 also gets high praise for its stunning water effects and racing action. On the flip side, there are some real stinkers. War Gods takes a hammering, described as the worst fighting game on the console, and Shadows of the Empire gets a rather lukewarm reception for being tedious in parts. We also see reviews for everything from racing games like San Francisco Rush and Top Gear Rally, to the unique spherical puzzling of Tetrasphere, and the wrestling efforts of WCW vs NWO. There's even a look at the slightly oddball Wild Choppers helicopter game, which sounds like a bit of a mess. The page is littered with screenshots and character art, including the rather plump Weetrix characters and a footballer looking miffed about IS-98 not being here yet. It's a comprehensive rundown showing the sheer variety and wildly differing quality of games hitting the N64. This page kicks off with a look ahead to next month's issue, focusing on the huge Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3 as we all call it, happening in Atlanta. Sounds like they'll be bringing back all the vital info, views and screenshots on the big N64 games we'll be playing later this year and beyond. There's also talk of deep dives into games like Quake and Forsaken, plus Steve is apparently going to batter All-Star Baseball. Looks like they're leaning into a bit of a baseball theme, with the imagery, which is a nice touch. Orange War. Beyond the editorial content, there's a massive spread from Special Reserve, offering mail-order discounts on a load of games for N64, Super NES, PlayStation, and various Game Boys. They've got a membership scheme for even more benefits and run regular promotions like 10% off certain orders. There are also adverts for free gifts you can get when buying games and lists of their retail locations.